Good evening, and today, we will continue the discussion of Rosa Linux Fresh R2, and in this issue, I would like to address such a thing as familiarity, or desktop standard. When people start, more precisely, when users start switching to something new, they're often confused by a completely different interface. And we have one interface, or rather, de facto one. This is the interface of the Windows operating system, and when the GUI of the Windows interface changed a lot, I'm talking about the 8, it made a big fuss because, in principle, few people have heard that there are other operating systems besides Windows, mainly among such more recognizable operating systems, alternatives. This is, for example, Mac, or as it is called at the moment, just Vs 10. Probably, starting with versions 10 and 8, it became just versus 10. Then, probably, Android. So, what is Android? Android is a Linux distribution from Google, relatively free, and here in Rosa Linux 2, as a core. And here are what alternative operating systems people know. Well, from such desktop, as I said, it's MacOS or you have 10. Yes, in principle, probably everything. It has been known about Linux for a long time, but it seemed to be more popular in the professional environment. Probably, of such retro systems that geeks loved, or were just very popular, I can say about Amiga OS, BIOS and OS 2. Linux, as a desktop system, began to gain popularity, probably since the mid-noughties. You could say that the turning point is at the Riot 710, if I'm not mistaken. It was she who brought a lot of popularity. Linux distribution, Linux and Linux servers began to be installed on home computers on a large scale. Well, by the way, Rosa Linux is a relative of such a distribution as Mandrake, which will become a Mandriva in the future. It was the first home distribution that was Mandra Linux. So, the do is our domestic granddaughter. I'll call her because Rosa, she sounds like a more feminine name. That's what they did for such a familiar job in this distribution. The distribution is aimed at a very simple interface, that is, so that a person who was sitting at a machine on which Windows EMC is installed, or on a Mac, could easily get to work. I won't repeat myself about stacks, but here you see a panel like Windows 7. At the same time, you see all sorts of frills like in MacOS. The panel itself is a bit like a three-dimensional current at least, although it does not give any reflection. Yes, like MacOS. Just a transparent panel, despite the fact that the window can be stretched in the same way as in Windows, and not just from one corner, as in MacOS. I do not know what has changed there at 10, above there at 10 and 6, because the last of my MacOS that I had, that is, the last MacOS version of the newest that I had a relationship with, was the 10.6 Snow Leopard. On my old Macintosh, this is a Chef, I have a G5 Macintosh installed. A Tiger is installed. This is a very stable version. It has received the most updates, it works very well, and I still need Photoshop. I don't want to use the Massachusetts Windows operating system, because I don't trust it, and not only because of its quality, but because of political views. And this macro is not only that, it's not enough that it's kind of quite old, although I don't consider it a plus. Well, the architecture is no longer supported, and I am, as if I want to. I would like to say that, more precisely, the architecture is supported, but as a desktop, and it is from the Apple itself, that it is not supported. That's why I consider it, such a pirate giant. That's like such a piece of freedom. Here. And so, let's go back to the fact that the windows are stretched. I do not know what has changed in the latest versions of macOS, or 10 like them. Oh, Stan, as they call her now. But here you can change the window size from all angles, such as in Windows. In fact, this is CD4. What is CD4? This is a desktop that consists of widgets. When people tell you that CD is Windows, they are complete jerks, because in fact, all these areas of the desktop are widgets. And you can make anything you want here. Although a rocket to the moon, of course, this is figurative, sarcasm. Almost any desktop. If, for example, it is absolutely impossible to change something in the third GNOME, or you need to get into some configs, you can change the CD4 desktop as you like, disassemble it into pieces. You can block widgets, add widgets, yes, approximately. I think everyone is already familiar with CD. So, the start menu, there are all sorts of widgets, desktop adventures, location widgets, battery indicator. These widgets can be downloaded, the classic CD menu. Who is familiar with the third sneakers, or by the way, here is a very pancake resembles a Mandrio. And nothing has changed in it, especially this classic window, which was probably used until the last in the 2010 Andrew, as the main menu. I don't know how. Yes, they seem to be in the 11th. Here. And this Kirschner menu is kind of new, right? Four-legged. On the 4. I can't turn something. You can turn this whole thing around very nicely, right? So, the widget can also be easily disabled. It can be blocked. Here is the folder of the contents of the window, that is, the cop. Well, this widget is not needed here, because there is such a thing as stacks. Yes, we have already returned to them. I made a stack on. Stack folder, stop. If we change it now, I don't want to change anything. The desktop folder is empty. That is, we can change the room, yes, and put it in it, for example, so that the icons are not displayed. And we use this stake, where everything you need will be, everything that you downloaded there on the desktop, everything that is posted. Here the basket is located in the left corner, at least 10 times. More precisely, in the right corner, I'm sorry. So, downloads. In principle, you can move the stack to absolutely any folder. Here, let's say the image folder is down, right? Let's look at the iceberg that sank the Titanic arms. Up. They say that the real one is the iceberg itself, which just sank it. In addition to everything that is here, and there is a lot of things, a large set of native CS programs. I want to say that they have 400 programs. That is, they are written on Cort 4, on CD3, on Cort 3, on CD5, they write on Cort 5. And the programs that will be used from, let's say, are written in CS, right? That is, about the DADKEC technology, 2 or 3 there, can be badly, incorrectly displayed here, which I have already noticed. To do this, you need to do some manipulations here. But I will return to the fact that there is a very large set of programs specifically for cute games. The drawing machine, for example, is standard there. There's a